What if I told you that while the police smiles for cameras, behind closed doors a king is fighting for his life? And what if the very people meant to protect him are the ones pushing him closer to the edge? Listen, here is something they don't want you to know. Something buried beneath all those polished press releases and carefully staged public appearances. The British monarchy is crumbling from within, and at the center of it all is a man whose health is deteriorating faster than anyone dares to admit publicly. You're about to discover why King Charles might not make it through this crisis. WHO's on family decisions are literally killing him, and how one scandal after another is creating a perfect storm that could bring down the entire institution. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will change everything you thought you knew about the royal family. Main content. So it is what's really happening right now in those gilded police house. King Charles is sick. Not just need some rest, sick. You're talking about terminal cancer that sitting through at him while he tries to hold together a family that's falling apart at the seams. Now, you might be thinking, wait, didn't they say it's doing better? Didn't they now warn is reducing his cancer treatment? Yeah, they did say that. And you know what? That's exactly what they want you to believe. It's a classic royal playbook, control the narrative, manage public perception, never let the atom see you sweat. But it is the thing. When you look at the actual evidence, when you see the recent photographs, when you hear what insiders are actually seeing behind closed doors, a completely different picture emerges. Picture is, just a few days ago, Charles attended an event at Buckingham Palace. Cameras were there. Smiles were plastered on faces. Everything looked fine on the surface. But if you really looked at him, I mean really studied his ways, which his body language, the way he moved, you could see it. This is a man who's struggling. This is someone who's to think every hour of strength just to get through a simple public appearance. And you want to know the worst part. The absolute worst part of all this. The stress that's destroying his health isn't coming from the cancer itself. It's coming from his own family, from decisions he made, from scandals he tried to cover up, from brothers who betrayed him and sons who walked through. Let me break this down for you, because it's important you understand the full picture here. The Epstein files. You've heard about them, right? Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted pedophile, the monster who ran a sex trafficking ring with connections to the rich and powerful. Well, those files just got released again. New documents, new revelations, new nightmares for the royal family, and at the center of it all, Prince Andrew, Charles's brother, the man he protested, the man he paid millions to shield from consequences. It is what most people don't realize. When those files dropped, it isn't just another new story for the police. It was an earthquake. People close to the royals, senior members of the family, here seeing the impasse was devastating. Had the actual word being said. Devastating. Because Charles and his advisors, they genuinely believed that the worst was behind the atom. They thought, okay, you banish and you do some state in the middle of nowhere, take Ruich's titles, keep him out of sight, and eventually people will forget it. Wrong. Dead wrong. The new revelations aren't just wishing old news. Here opening up fresh wounds. Here exposing just how deep this goes. And every single day, here is something new. Every day, Charles wakes up wondering what bombshell is going to drop next. Every day, he has to weigh the reality that his own brother might be connected to one of the most disgusting scandals in modern history. Now, imagine dealing with that while you're fighting terminal cancer. Imagine the stress, the sleepless nights, the constant anxiety. Medical experts will tell you, and this is just basic science, that stress is one of the absolute worst things for cancer recovery. High stress levels suppress your immune system. They interfere with treatment. They can literally accelerate the progression of the disease. So what you're watching here isn't just a scandal. It's not just political damage control. You're watching a man's health deteriorate in reality because of the impossible situation is being put in. And that is where it gets even more complicated. Source is very close to the family, and I'm talking about people who have direct access to seeing royals here, seeing Charlie's health is much worse than he appears to be. Think about that for a second. He already looks unwell in public, is visibly struggling, and here seeing the reality is even worse than what we can see. One Yelchonis royal commentator, someone with decades of experience and genuine insider access, recently revealed that a senior family member told her just days ago that the king's condition has taken a serious turn for the worse. The exact phrase who said was that the Epstein relations have had a devastating effect on Elias health. This isn't speculation. This isn't tabloid gossip. These are people with real information painting a very grim picture. Now, let's talk about the money for a second, because this is where it gets really interesting. The police actually confirmed, that Charles personally paid £1.5 million toward under a settlement with Virginia Jury. 1.5 million of HES on money to make HES broadcast sex abuse allegations go away. Think about what that means. Charles, as a monarch, as the head of state, took money from HES personal funds to essentially buy silence in a case involving AJ Broder and a woman who claimed she was tricked to have sex with him when she was a teenager. The optics are long catastrophic, but beyond the public relations disaster, think about what this does to Charles personally. The guilt, the anger, the feeling of being trapped between family loyalty and moral responsibility. And Andrew is not grateful, according to sources, is actually resentful about HES situation. He feels like he's being punished unfairly, is isolated at Sandringham, barely seeing anyone, and apparently that's Charlie's strategy, keep him close enough to monitor, far enough to keep him out of trouble. It's like putting a volatile family member under house arrest and hoping they don't play. But it is the thing that really gets me. While Charles is literally fighting for HES life, while he's dealing with cancer and family scandals and public scrutiny, there is this ongoing power struggle happening between HES court and its own Elias team. We got Buckingham Police on one side and Kensington Police on the other, and here not exactly working in harmony. Uильям, BYO Irquans, has been right about almost everything. When it came to how to handle Andrew, Uильям wanted a harder line. When it came to dealing with Harry and Meghan, Uильям saw through the situation first at NHS water did. Elias' instincts on modern monarchy, on protecting the institution, on managing crisis have been sharper, more decisive, more in tune with public sentiment. So you think the logical move would be for Charles to lean on Uильям more, right? To let HES take the lead on some of the difficult decisions while Charles focuses on HES health. And to some degree, that is happening. Uильям is taking on more foreign trips, more experophily engagements. The government is specifically sending Uильям to handle sensitive diplomatic missions instead of Charles. But here is still this tension, this competition. And it's not guilty for anyone involved there, least of all Charles. It is what should happen, and in just being realistic here, Miller needs to step in. The Queen Consort needs to look at her husband and say, no, you need to prioritize your health. Let Uильям handle more of this. You can still be king, you can still be public watching, but you cannot carry all of this weight while fighting cancer too. Because the alternative is what? Charles burns himself out, which is he'll collapses completely, and then what? A rushed transition of power, a crisis succession. That's not good for anyone. Not for Charles, not for Uильям, not for the monarchy itself. Now, while all this is happening with Charles and Andrew, let's talk about the other bombshell that dropped this week. Sare Fергюson, Fergie, Andres Yehife, the woman who somehow is still living at HES residence despite being divorced for decades. New emails have come out saying Fergie's relationship with Jerry Epstein was way more gifting than anyone previously knew. And now here is this claim, this absolutely wild claim that Fergie and Epstein might have had a sexual relationship. A journalist who's been digging through the 3 million plus documents released by the U.S. Department of Justice said is heard from multiple sources that this relationship isn't just friendly. IT was intimate. And this lines up with what Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's partner in crime, told prosecutors. Maxwell said Fergie put the moves on Jeffrey. The emails themselves are, here is something else. Fergie writing to Epstein saying, just marry me, calling him for love, joking about marrying other women too. The level of familiarity, the flirtation, the deep intimacy, it's all right there in black and white. Now, some people are trying to dismiss this as just Fergie being overly friendly, being foolish to aggregate yourself. But come on, when you're sending emails like that to a convicted sex offender, when you're that cozy with someone who's running a trafficking ring, it raises serious questions about judgment at the very least. and the impasse on her daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie, is just tragic. These women are trying to build their own lives, their own careers, their own families. Beatrice married into Italian nobility. Eugenie has her own charitable work. They've been trying to maintain some dignity and independence. Until their mother gets dragged into this message, their father is at the center of it, and suddenly every door starts closing. There are reports that potential business partners are backing away from the princesses. Organizations that were considering working with them are suddenly having second thoughts. Because how do you separate the daughters from the parents when the parents are so deeply entangled in such a toxic scandal? Fergie herself seems to be incredibly denial about the severity of the situation. She was reportedly planning some kind of comeback, telling friends she needs to get back to work, she needs money. Although she's now apparently claiming through intermediaries that she's just focused on her mental health and not planning any grand return to public life. But there is a pattern with Fergie. She's never been able to manage money. She's constantly in debt, constantly asking for handouts, constantly looking for the next opportunity to cash in on her royal connections. And now those connections are more toxic than ever. The whole situation is a human tragedy, especially for the grandchildren. How do you explain to young kids why they can't see grandma and grandpa anymore? How do you protect them from the inevitable playground questions and online searches? Meanwhile, on the other side of the royal drama, you've got the Meghan and Harry situation still bubbling away in the background. And thus we brought an interesting development. Jessica Mulroney, Meghan's former best friend, the woman she completely ghosted after a minor social media controversy, is reportedly being offered a book deal worth around $1 million. Jessica knows everything, or at least she knows a lot. She was Meghan's closest confidant during the royal wedding, during the early days of marriage, during all the Ben Heshinias drama, and she was dumped ruthlessly the moment she became inconvenient. Now, if Jessica takes that deal and actually tells the truth about what she witnessed, watching us, what Meghan really said and did when she went wrong, that could be explosive. Because Meghan's whole brand is built on a very specific narrative. Any deviation from that narrative, any contradictory evidence from someone who was actually there, could seriously damage her credibility. The rumor is that Meghan would pay almost anything to stop that book from being published. Which makes sense, right? She spent years carefully curating her image, controlling every message, managing every detail of her public persona. Having someone from her inner circle break ranks would be a nightmare. And speaking of Meghan-related media, here is this whole Scabby situation. Scabby, the journalist who's basically been Meghan's unofficial spokesperson. He wrote a novel. A terrible novel. By all ones. Critics are absolutely destroying it. One reviewer said comparing KT to a badly botched cosmetic surgery job would be cruel but agreed. The writing is apparently that bad. But it is the thing, the novel itself doesn't matter. IT was never about literary merit. IT was about getting a TV deal. And sure enough, an American network picked IT up for a series. The whole point is to create a fictionalized version of Meghan's story within the royal family, to share the narrative, to get their version of events into popular culture. It's actually quite clever from a propaganda standpoint, even if the source material is garbage. Because once it's dramatized on TV, once it's been filtered through a Hollywood storytelling, millions of people will watch it and absorb that version of events without questioning whether it's accurate. And the connection between Meghan and Scabby, it's been confirmed multiple times. There was even this hilarious moment on British television recently where a host accidentally admitted that Scabby had sent for a message saying Meghan was delighted with her coverage of the success. It just slipped out during a live broadcast, and suddenly everyone understood why certain commentators were so soft on Meghan. The whole thing is layers upon layers of manipulation, media management, and carefully orchestrated narrative control. But stepping back from all these individual scandals, it is what it all adds up to. The British monarchy is facing multiple existential crises simultaneously. You've got a sick king who's getting sicker. You've got Prince Andrew as a massive liability. You've got Fergie dragging the family name through the mud. You've got Harry and Meghan constantly stirring the pot from California. You've got internal power struggles between different royal cohorts. And all of this is happening while anti-monarchy sentiment is growing, while Republicans are pushing harder for abolition, while younger generations are increasingly questioning the relevance of the entire institution. Charles is trying to hold it all together while with his body is failing him. Every new revelation, every new scandal, every new crisis takes not at all each is healed. The stress is literally killing him. Some people are even starting to despair about abdication. Not many, but the conversation is happening. If Charles' health deteriorates to the point where he simply cannot function, what then? There is he step down and let William take over. There is a monarchy risk looking weak and unstable with an early transition. The problem is, Charles has waited his entire life for this role. 70+ years as heir, watching his mother reign for decade after decade. He finally gets the crown, and now it is on health and it is on family destroying his ability to actually be king. It's genuinely tragic when you think about it from a human perspective. Strip through the palaces and the titles and the ceremony, and you're looking at an elderly man with cancer, being stressed to the breaking point by family members who keep creating disasters, while trying to do a job as wanted his entire life. The question now is whether William will be given the space and authority to actually help. Because William gets it. William understands modern media, modern public sentiment, modern crisis management, in ways that Charles' generation simply doesn't. William was ready to cut Andrew loose completely. William saw through a Meghans game plan early. William knows that protesting the institution sometimes means making brutal, unpopular decisions within the family. If Charles is smart and if Carmel pushes him in this direction, it'll lean heavily on William for the next few months and years. Let William be the bad cop. Let William make the two of calls. Let William handle the Epstein follower and the Andrew situation and all the other messes. Charles can still be king. He can still do ceremonial duties, meet with prime ministers, represent the nation at important events. But the day-to-day crisis management, the strategic decision-making about family members, the long-term planning for the monarch's future, that needs to be increasingly in Elias' hands. Because right now, the stress is unsustainable. And if something doesn't change, if Charles has got some relief from this constant birth of military disasters, his health will continue to decline. And that's not speculation, that's just basic medical reality. Terminal cancer plus extreme ongoing stress equals a very predictable outcome. The police can put out all the positive statements they want. They can carefully stage photographs to make Charles look healthier than he is. They can manage the media narrative as much as possible. But the truth has a way of coming out eventually. And people who are actually close to the situation are already confirming what many suspected: the king is in much worse shape than official sources are letting on. Closing. So where does all this leave us? You're watching a royal family in genuine crisis. Not the manufactured drama that tabloids love to create, but real, serious, potentially catastrophic problems that could risk the monarchy within our lifetime. King Charles is fighting a battle on multiple fronts against cancer, against scandal, against family dysfunction, against public scrutiny, and is losing ground on several of those fronts simultaneously. The next few months are going to be critical. It as a family comes together, William steps up into a more prominent role, and they manage to contain the damage from Andrew and Fergie and the Epstein revelations, or things spiral further out of control. Charles' health continues to deteriorate, and you're looking at a succession crisis happening much sooner than anyone anticipated. This isn't about whether you support the monarchy or want it to abolish it. This is about human beings dealing with impossible situations, making mistakes, suffering consequences, and trying to survive in the public while their lives fall apart. Keep watching the space, because the story is far from over. In effect, you're probably only seeing the beginning of what's going to be a very difficult period for the British royal family. If you found this information valuable, if you want to stay updated on what's really happening behind the police walls, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any updates. You're one of the few places giving you the unfiltered truth about the situations. We towards the police spine, we towards the corporate media filter. Share this with anyone who needs to understand what's actually going on with the royals. The more people who know the truth, the harder it is for the official narrative to hide the reality. And remember, you're completely independent here. No billionaire backers, no corporate overlords telling us what we can and can't say. That's only possible because of your support. So subscribe, engage, share, and let's keep exposing the truth together. This is history unfolding in reality. Don't look right now.